know what this is. It's supposed to lull me into a sense of calm, and then a ghoul pops up and scares me.
Why would I do that? Dwight, of all people, I know that you're unscarable.
Damn right I am. Oh, hello, relaxing meadow. I'm so relaxed and calm looking at you right now. Oh, no, scary ghoul just popped up. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Really? Is this the best you could... Jim?
How are you?
Ah! Okay.
That is the best I can do.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. An interesting call-out Oscar weekend from the star of, or the former star of, The Office, the character that played Dwight, Rayne Wilson, calling out an obvious, and, you know, to all of us, the anti-Christian sentiment in Hollywood, in particular in this episode of The Last of Us, which we all saw last week, or many people saw last week. And, you know, The Last of Us is gaining some steam. The show has made several kind of like woke decisions that I guess is just kind of the lock, stock standard. I think the show is fine. I think it's like above average. It's not like appointment television for me, but I'll probably watch it once through at some point. I watched the first couple episodes and just was not much was going on. They wasted an entire episode on a man-on-man romance, but nonetheless, it's good to see someone from within Hollywood calling it out. And the bizarre part is Rayne Wilson is like as far left as it gets. So the Office actor Rayne Wilson declares that there is an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. Well, certainly if you're watching, you know this. And in fact, it's not even necessarily anti-Christian, but it's like, I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but like there's this like weird satanic worship stuff. Now, I want to stay away from like the satanic panic of what the 80s or whatever that is. But you have, you know, stuff like what of his name, Sam Smith with his Unholy, Lil Nas X with his shoes that have blood in them and a pentagram on them. I mean, this is not something that I'm unfamiliar with, especially with like metal bands. In the 80s and the early 90s, you would see this kind of imagery and stuff of that nature. But let's get into Rayne's take. By the way, I have a big, I don't know if you know this, but I interviewed Steven Crowder this morning. We had a nice long talk, about an hour or so. It's on the front page of my YouTube channel, or it's under the live section. And I did a promo code Crowder to save today to celebrate. It was my biggest live stream ever, and I'm so thankful that he came on. And I'm hoping that you'll consider trying out coffeebrandcoffee.com. I did some work on it this weekend, made things a little easier to understand what the products are. Our coffee is available in whole bean or ground, roasted fresh on demand, fresh on order. We have our own roast master. This isn't like some drop ship thing. I'm tweaking every single flavor that comes out, getting it just right for you. We've got a dozen organic teas that all rate extremely well. We also have cocos, so I hope you'll try us out today. The Office actor Rayne Wilson declares that there's an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. He tweets out, "I do think there's an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. As soon as the David character, he's a pastor, in The Last of Us started reading from the Bible, I knew that he was going to be a horrific villain. Could there be a Bible reading preacher on a show who is actually loving and kind?" 50,000 tweets. Now, this sure is a way to get unpersoned probably in Hollywood. By the way, shout out to a low-key movie that I liked that he was in called The Rocker. I'm not saying it was like the best movie ever, but it's just like good, harmless fun. I think Teddy Geiger is the main character in that movie. Anyway, it's funny and it's wholesome. You see, you know, Kurt saying the best picture of a Christian I've seen in the media is Mr. Rogers. Yes, he was, but I don't know if he was like openly Christian on the show. And there's just lots of people. Firefly, The Expanse, Babylon 5, The Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Some examples of shows with characters who are religious and sincere, but I don't think that's really what he's saying. Yeah, The Book of Eli, I think also is good, but again, not a preacher, not, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, there are crappy ones. You hear Shaw and Kent say, hey, maybe they could do a show about Catholic priests and all their fine work with children. Like, I get it. But like, You read anti-Christian bias and thought he was asking for a demonstration. Yeah, there are, those priests need to be out. They can't just keep shuffling them around like they used to. Obviously, I've known a lot of pastors in my life, and all of them were very kind people. And, well, maybe I just wasn't attractive enough for them. I don't know, but it was never an issue. But Rayne Wilson this is coming from a pretty, being on The Office broke his mind. So people are just seething about it, right? Maybe Christians should stop being horrific villains. The Conjuring universe. Maybe. I just, everybody in his quote tweets getting just causing a complete meltdown. Father Lantom from Daredevil. Sure, they exist. But I do think it's funny how just there's so much seething in these comments. But you see, I'm glad that Rayne Wilson is publicly acknowledging this. Entertainment impacts our culture, and there's tons of good pastors and faith leaders that would be inspirational and moving on the big screen. Well, I would say this. Now, I don't know if it's, Christianity and religious films and stuff like that. They actually do quite well. You have a guy like, Kevin Sorbo has his stuff. Why can't I think of the other one? Kirk Cameron has his stuff. Christian families love their Christian messaging and stuff like that. But this stuff is not a part of Hollywood. It's separate from Hollywood and self-funded, by the way. Look, there are bad people of all religions, but look at Hollywood and ask yourself, which side they're going to prevent. You see this article in the New York Post. Rayne Wilson calls out anti-Christian bias in Hollywood after the Last of Us episode. I knew he was a villain. Others agreed with Wilson's criticism and pointed out how The Last of Us was hardly the first example of Hollywood's anti-Christian bias. Defamation of Christians has become the most unoriginal and tired cliches in movies and TV series. Its prevalence is much more than bias against an entire people. It's meant to undermine faith and position the secular-minded as only ones with the altruistic intentions. Libre Initiative President Daniel Garza remarked. New Christendom Press CEO wrote, "Go back to Mr. Collins and Austin's Pride and Prejudice. The preacher man has always been portrayed in a negative light. Also true of Hollywood today." Here's another quote. "I lean left, but The Last of Us still made me roll my eyes quite a few times with this Hollywood nonsense. Had to stop watching." Medium writer Sean Kenman, an actual critic. Evie magazine founder Brittany Martinez wrote, "As soon as the pastor started reading the Bible, I knew he was going to be awful. I was like, watch this guy be David, the creepy cannibal from the video game." And then it was. Shocked, surprised, never seen it before. He wasn't a pastor in the video game. So that's kind of part of what you're talking about, the biases here, right? It isn't necessarily that he was a bad guy, but they went out of their way to make him a Christian and a pastor. They didn't have to do that, but they're like, wouldn't it be funny if we disparaged Christianity and pastors again? Wouldn't that make it hit harder? Wouldn't that be more interesting? I think that's an extraordinarily valid point to point out, that they went out of their way. Indeed, making Christians a bad guy in the show is a norm nowadays. Christian writer Eric Stetzer tweeted, "We've known this for a long time," Rayne. Recording artist Sean Fuchs wrote. Wilson has previously promoted left-wing issues on his Twitter account. In November, he announced efforts to change the name on social media platforms to Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter Wilson, as he tried to promote climate activism. I think he is a lefty, but I think you can still look at things from an unbiased perspective, especially when we have things like this. Lil Nas X unofficial Satan Nikes containing human blood sell out in under a minute. I just don't even understand. This is what you get from Hollywood, right? Now, I am not offended by this. I don't care. They were priced $1,000 a pair. Truly satanic, I suppose. And it was $1,018 a pair, a reference to the biblical passage Luke 10:18 that reads, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Each shoe's air bubble sole contains 60 cubic centimeters, 2 full ounces of red ink, and a single drop of human blood. I mean, this is what people are paying for. This is what people get, articles. Sam Smith with his all of his imagery and all this kind of stuff. All the things we hear about, what Hollywood people do behind the scenes. I think that it's probably not really that surprising that they don't care for Jesus. There's a lot of people, there are atheists out there. There are agnostic people out there, but then there's the atheist people who think they're super smug. I don't know how many of you people were around my videos back then, but there was a thing in 2015, 2016 in the atheism community where suddenly atheism became a new religion and it attracted leftism and leftists, and they came into that movement and completely destroyed it. This in Hollywood, promoting mocking being religious, calling people who are religious simple and thinking they're unenlightened. Is ridiculous, but this is the norm in Hollywood. So good on you, Rayne Wilson. I guess rest in pepperonis your career, but I'm happy he said it, so kudos to him. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, I'm 2,000 subscribers away from 1.5 million, so I hope today will be the day I earn your subscription. There's a button down below to do so, and make sure to check out coffee brand, coffee.com today. Promo code Crowder to save. We'll talk to you again real soon.